Welcome to Car Talk. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Sabina.
We're back.
Yeah, it's a good Thanksgiving, and we got to take a break and enjoy.
Break time's over.
Yeah. Now back to work.
Episode 17 today.
And it's titled The Jail Story. So we're going to be telling you about, a story that happened in jail, debrief you a little bit, give you a bit of information and some suggestions and tips and so forth or whatever. So, before we begin, actually, you know what? We'll talk about rapport.
Yeah. So there was lots of stories that we were going through our heads, to talk about today because, we have a lot of some of them are funny, some are a little serious, but we thought it would be fun today to talk about some experiences in the jail when we were there. So, yeah, we're going to talk about rapport first, what that means.
So I think we were in that same briefing when a lieutenant was like, because sometimes we would have issues, right?
And we're talking about rapport with inmates. Right?
Yeah.
So correctional officers having rapport with inmates.
And I think it's very important that you do establish that rapport, with an inmate. I've said this before, previously, like a sergeant said, you're not their friends. Yeah. You can be friendly, but you're not their friend.
Of course, duh.
But I don't think that sergeant at the time could have said like, oh, rapport is important. But that's basically what he meant.
No, he said you guys don't build rapport with them. That's not a thing. Like you don't have rapport with any inmates. He said that in briefing one time, and I was like, what?
No, that was a lieutenant.
Yeah, that was a lieutenant. And I was like, what? I did not understand that because I thought we did. I mean, I did.
I did too. Everybody looked around and was like, with inmates. Yeah, everybody was looking around like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, that's how we don't use that word. I want to say it's because like someone wrote it in a report and he got upset because he read that and he goes, you do not have rapports with these inmates. And I'm just like, yeah, you do.
Yes, you do. We all looked at each other. And I think a lot of people were like on the same page when he said that because we're like, yeah, we do. How do you think we get things done? How do you think we prevent things? How do you think we're proactive?
The thing is inmates are people. And yes, you can have rapport with people.
Yes, I agree. I think that's what, I think that's what people or officers have a tendency of forgetting is that they are people too.
People. Yes, people skills. That's all it is. Inmates is not a different category. They're still people. They're just locked up. That's it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's different. Yes. I mean, you're still providing a service for them. So, and with that said, like, you just have to be aware of.
Yeah. And the rapport is mainly for them to trust us as officers, not the other way around. Of course, we're not saying, oh, you have rapport, meaning like we take their word for everything they tell us. And no. Obviously, they're criminals too. Okay. So we're not going to take their word for everything, but they trust us. We become more approachable. If they got a problem, they tell us. If they need something, they'll let us know. If something's not working out right in their housing unit, they feel comfortable talking to people, to officers that they have rapport with. That's what it's for.
Yeah. And rapport again is just, being able to be friendly and familiar to that person. Again, we're specifically talking about inmates, but you have to keep in mind that they're people too. And like, Steph was saying, you can't trust everything that comes out of their mouth. Right. You know what I mean? Because they are criminals at the end of the day, Yeah. But I feel like sometimes that gets blurred. That line gets blurred because some officers become complacent. They get too comfortable. They cross boundaries.
Yeah, they think that person does have their best interest.
And it's not necessarily the fact.
Yes, that's not the fact. And I think that's what he should have said. He should have said, absolutely, you guys have rapport with these inmates. Just make sure you don't cross that line. Don't let it get blurred. Don't think that they're ever your friends because they're not. And then I would have been like, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. But like to have no rapport, no. Then that means we're just walking around like robots. We're not talking to these inmates. We're not, if they're crying, we're not asking are you all right? Like, is everything okay? No, we're their people. So if you treat them like people, if they're distraught about something, you ask about it and you care, like, even if it's acting like you care, I mean, they appreciate that. So that's the rapport that we're talking about.
I agree. Yeah, that was perfectly said. I mean, as far as that goes, but you have to maintain that fine line. I mean, at one point I told one of the inmates too, look, I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
I'm not your
friend. Yeah, because
friend.
Sometimes they feel like that. Oh, we care about your feelings and we care. Oh, you need a new jumpsuit. Oh, you get this. Oh, you need visiting list change. Yeah, I got you.
And I'll tell you a story with that. Like, we did like a search in the AJ and it was all females, right? So we're bringing in, and obviously there was a strong female,
pod leader? Oh,
no,
officer?
Yeah, so she came in with the gun and everything, pepper ball, and yeah, you already know who I'm talking about or no? Rumpkin. So she came in and she had the gun, like, hot, obviously, because we had to do a search and everything. And what do you call it? One of the girls was like, yeah, she's over here thinking that, she's in charge and blah, blah. I said, listen, you have to calm down, like, calm down, relax. And she's like, she's a fucking bitch. Da, da, da. And I said, look, I'm I'm gonna stop you right there. And that's where you have to check them and give them a reality check. Watch your mouth. I'm not your friend. I can be friendly is what I quoted, like that sergeant. Like, and she was like, okay, like, but that was where the blinds could be easily blurred. Had I agreed with her, what do you think would have happened? Like, oh yeah, she is a bitch.
Yeah. Then so, you seem like you're on their side.
Yeah. And you seem as though like, you know,
you cross boundaries, like you're not at work. Like, you know, like that's your job to.
Yeah. And you got to maintain like that respect for your officers, because if she's not respecting her, what makes you think that any other officer coming in and giving
safety hazard?
Exactly. So you want to stop that behavior before it, you know, can put you in a situation. Yeah, exactly. So I had to like right there, like, hey, we're cool. I can be friendly, but right there, you don't talk about stuff like that. At the end of the day, that's you know, my coworker.
At the end of the day, we have officers' backs, never the inmates, no matter how good the report is.
And also too, I think that with that said, is more like correct them behind doors. You know what I mean? Especially your coworkers, correct them, not right then and there in front of the inmate, because sometimes, most of the time, those inmates are there to like create problems amongst coworkers. You know what I mean? And they do that. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So, you know, be careful with your rapport with, you know, inmates when you're there. You know, you just gotta maintain that
professionalism.
Yeah. I mean, but sometimes we're informal about things, but that's just the way we talk with one another to gain each other's respect.
Well, yeah, that's just inmates have a different lingo, you know, than the average person. So yeah, sometimes speaking like them, or, you know, in ways that they understand, that also builds rapport, because then you're not acting like you're better than them. You're just acting like you understand them.
I mean, because if I came in there and I was telling people about, like, according to policy
3794,
these sheets must be down and for contraband use, and once it's altered, no, it's
prohibits the space from being violated and covered.
So exactly, so you can't come in there talking like that. But if I came in there saying, hey, look, I'm just letting you know, once you mess up something, right? Once that cup is written on it or whatever, it's considered contraband. Yeah, and I can take it. You know what I mean? But if I came in there all robotic and stuff like that,
or if you just say, hey guys, it's not a big deal, just take your sheet down. Like, you don't need it up right now. Just keep it down. It's not allowed, okay?
Yeah.
It's no big deal. No big deal. Like that. You just talk to them like a normal person. They're going to be fine. But if you come in there, hey, excuse me, I'm going to have to lock this door because you're violating section 6974 of a sheet being up. No.
Yeah, of course you're going to have problems.
Then they're going to be like, who the fuck is that bitch?
See, then when you have that rapport up, right? Let's say you know one of the cellmates that are in there, right? And you come in there like, hey, you got to take it down, and it's somebody new in the cell. They're going to be like, well, why do I have to, like, you're the only officer. Hey, look, I'm not everybody else, okay? That's my thing. As soon, whoa, I'm going to stop you. I'm not like other officers. I don't know who you're talking about, but you're talking to me. I don't go, oh, all of you and you inmates. I said, how would you like that if I held that against every single person, and especially you? And then they would agree, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah.
There's you know, it's funny you say that, because there's even times like that you get new inmates and they're disgruntled, right? They're just coming to jail disgruntled. That's normal. It's fine. So, but you know, they start to cop an attitude with you or kind of get aggressive, you know, when you put them in the pod, you know. Well, if you have a good rapport with the other inmates and they know how you roll, they're going to check that inmate for you.
Oh,
they're going to say, whoa, don't be talking to Aguilar like that. Oh, no, not her. Not, hey, it's okay, Aguilar, she's cool. We'll talk to her. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. You know, because they're going to let them know, like, hey, that's not the one. Don't talk to her like that. She's cool with us. She gets us what we need. Like, you know, like, she respects us. They're going to know. The other inmates are going to have your back, which makes your job easier. Because now you don't have to check that girl. They're going to check her for you. You know? So.
Oh, well, you worked with the females a lot. I got that with the guys.
Yeah, that was a female.
So guys would give me issues like, oh, well, you know, blah, blah. I'm like, and then I would look. I'd look because I already look. I would look at the people, because everybody watches what you do. Yeah. They watch the way other inmates talk to you. So once you start being disrespected and you're just staring, I look around and I make contact with somebody.
Like,
you better.
Is this allowed in here?
Is this going to be a problem here? Because you guys already know how I am.
Yeah. Because the whole pod kind of gets in trouble sometimes when one inmate acts out because of how we have to handle the situation. They could get on lockdown, they could do whatever, so they don't want that either.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, sometimes like that's gonna help you out because they already know, hey, you know, and it's more, man, she be tripping,
she's cool, she
be tripping, hey man, you don't want to,
do the most, stop it,
exactly, nah, she always finds a way, I'm like, Yeah, and I would too. And I would see little things, and I would hold it against them. I don't care. I'd be like, there's some burns behind that outlet over there.
Yeah, she would go in there with her white gloves and see if the dusting of the walls, and she'd be like, there's dust here, so what are we gonna do, guys?
Inspection. Yeah. So I mean, I think rapports are very important, especially when it comes to regulating.
Absolutely,
it's going to help you all the time. That respect needs to be there, because
it helps you with your de-escalation.
Oh yeah, of course,
because if they know how you roll, especially like if they know your majority, like you're cool with them, like you get them what they need and stuff, you're not. And so when they see that you're regulating, then they respect that. Hey, you know what? She gets what we need. She gets us a jumpsuit when we need it. This is against the rules, so we're just not going to do it. Like, we'll respect her,
Yeah, but it's not even so much as like, because what we consider cool, somebody else coming in, oh, I just have to be cool. I just have to be cool. Hey, what's up, man? Hey,
yeah,
see,
like
don't be
cool.
too.
I mean, cool, like as in like, oh, hey, Aguilar, I got my jumpsuit's ripped right here on my crotch.
Reasonable.
Can I have a new jumpsuit? Yeah. When I have time, I'll go get you one. But I guarantee you that inmate asked 5 other officers before me, and they never went to go get them a jumpsuit. But I am going to go get them a jumpsuit. That's what I talk about cool, is like actually follow through with what their needs are.
Consistency.
Yeah, with what they need, what their needs are sometimes. Hey, Aguilar, can you change my visiting list? They're coming right now. They're coming right. Oh, yeah, sure. I'll do that for you. Other officers, you know what? No, put it right there at the door. We'll collect them at the next, what's it called? Check. During the next check, yeah, we'll collect those. Oh, but they're coming right now. Yeah, I don't care. Put it by the door. Reasonable. Come on, you can help them out sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's really hard sometimes for officers to do, because there's inconsistency. Obviously people are going to take advantage, right? People take advantage outside. Inmates are going to take advantage. Oh, you did it once, you're going to do it again. Hey, look, I'm going to let you know right now, these are my rules, because I'm going to be here on the floor. I do it as soon as morning comes. I pick up all the inmate request forms. That's what I do. So that if you want it done, make sure everything's up. But you got to get them in a routine of things. That's how you establish your rapport, because now you're creating semi like an expectation.
Stability. You're making stability to them. Consistency. They know what's up. They know when they see you on the floor, they know how it's going to run. They know what to expect. They know expectations, and it just runs smoothly like that. But yeah, officers definitely have to stay consistent with what they're doing in order to establish that.
Yeah, and fair, Yeah.
So how does this all tie into our story of having rapport?
Okay, so let me give you a little bit of background. The floor we were working on, the classification of inmates that we were going to be dealing with, a part of the story, are dropouts. And dropouts are people that were in gangs but are no longer active.
No longer technically in a gang according to our system.
So at that time, what dropouts were doing is, yes, they were dropouts from different gangs, and, they were being housed together, but they were forming their own gang. So it was a dropout gang that they were forming, both in another facility and that facility that we were working in. So they were gathering and kind of like recruiting people and everything like that. So it was becoming an issue, because people started doing the initiations and everything, jumping people so they can get them to games.
Started having a lot of rollouts, meaning like they're kicking people out of their pods or beating them up.
A lot of
politics was happening, which normally does not happen in dropout tanks, only in active tanks. So that was like a red flag that something was going on for sure. Yeah,
but nobody knew how much. This information didn't come out after the fact.
Right.
Okay, so that's what was going on. So one day, me and Steph were working, and we were, taking out an inmate, from the drop tank, and we were taking him to visit. Well, as soon as he was done with visit, oh, I remember now. I remember what happened.
In there, right?
No, he did. So what happened was, he comes back out and he lets us know a little bit about what's going on. He said, hey, I just want to let you know somebody's going to get stabbed. Somebody's going to get murdered. Somebody's supposed to get murdered.
Yeah.
And so then he was on his way to visiting. So
then when we came out, we were going to talk to him.
Yes, but we pulled him out for medical.
Yeah.
That's when we started talking. We were like, okay, all right. So
on his way to visiting, he told us like, hey, like something's going to happen in there. They're planning on murdering somebody, basically. Stab him up. So then we put him in visiting, and then me and Sabina were basically like, oh shit, what do we do?
So we go and we have a meeting with the rest of the officers on the floor, and we sat there in a circle on the chairs.
Yeah.
And I think we were more in shock, but we knew this. again, rapport.
So that's how rapport comes into play. If it was any other officers, I guarantee you this inmate would not have said anything. But the fact that he's seen it was us, he knew we would do something about it. He knew that this information, he trusted us with this information, that we would make the best decision possible for them.
And what did he tell us too? He's like, I trust you guys.
Yeah. He even said where it was. He's like, it's in the shower. Check the showers.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing was we sat there for a moment.
Yeah, we sat in a circle. I remember we were all sitting and staring at each other because it's a serious situation. If they're planning on murdering someone, they have weapons in there. Like, not just one, probably multiples. Like, with all the inmates that are involved, they all have a shank.
We sat there, right, and we started to check each other out.
Yeah, we're looking up and down. Like,
we're looking down, and and without saying anything, right? We're just looking at each other and eyeballing head to toe everybody that was in the circle. Everybody was doing it to each other, and the reason why we were doing this is because we're like, who's wearing their stab vest?
Yeah. I didn't have my stab vest on. I was like, oh fuck, I don't have
me too. We're all looking at each other.
Yeah,
me either.
Shit, I never wear that.
Nah, me either. So then, okay, so what are we gonna do? What was the plan? So, all right, cool. This is what we're going to do with this information. Obviously, it's going to be dangerous for us to pull him out. You know what I mean?
Because we also don't want other inmates to know that he snitched, because that's a big no-no in jail. So they would have whooped his ass.
I would have killed him probably.
Yeah, they would have whooped his ass if they knew that he snitched, and it would have been good for him.
But for me personally, it's like, again, it goes back to like, you confided in me with this information, and you're expecting me to keep you safe. You know what I mean? Because there's officers that will be like, oh, he did it, boom, blast them, and not take precautions like they should be, for safety reasons. So I said, okay, this is the plan. We're going to call him out for medical. We're going to put him in a medical, and then we'll talk to him. We'll be able to talk to him and stuff like that. So I think we ended up letting him know what was the situation is going to go. We're going to go. We let him the plan. We let him know the plan, what the plan was. So he's like, look, he's like, I'm just trying to do my time. He's like, I'm a grandpa. He's like, I'm done with this stuff. He's like, this is what's going on. It's initiation, all this stuff. So we're like, okay, cool. We put him back in.
We had for medical after.
Yeah.
So we put him back in from visiting into his housing unit. And then I think once we figured out what we were going to do, we pretended he had medical sick call.
We even did it over the announcement. Hey,
we made it all look good and stuff. So we called him out, boom, sent him out.
And then we were able to talk to him and get more further information.
Yes.
And then at that point, once we gathered enough information, we called up the sergeant, let him know this is the situation. This is what we want to do. He's like, okay. He's like, he's like, we're going to do a search. Because when we pulled out that inmate, he started telling us that the phones that were inside the cells had drugs inside them, meth. He said that the weapon that was going to be used for the murder was going to be inside the shower, like the knob.
Train?
No, the knob.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a hole. He's like, it looks like it, but not. But he's like, you pull it, and he's like, we hide stuff in there. He's like, so that's that. So he let us know who was going to be involved. He's like, look, he's like, just basically, he didn't want to obviously he doesn't want to get hurt. Nobody ever wants to get hurt, right? So we're like, okay. So sergeant's like, okay, we're going to start assembling a team to do the search and everything like that. And then, so what we had to do was extract this inmate without making it obvious, right? So the inmate that was supposed to, which is a suspect that was supposed to conduct this murder, he was in the pod. We already had eyes on him. And I think it was supposed to be planned during dinner time. That's when they were going to plan to do it.
Yeah, I think it was when we left.
Yeah,
we were always off around after we served them dinner, so it was going to be around that time.
Yeah, it happened during
dinner.
Have
their trays.
So, and he had told them that they were going to get him really drunk, and he was going to have an easy time doing it.
Yeah.
So, we go in there. The plan was for me, because the way my report is, the inmates know me as being, I'm an enforcer, or I'm not afraid, or I don't shy away from searching things or whatever, right? So we were all in a plan or whatever. And I went in and I started, stuff when I was like, oh, well, I think I went in and I was like, smells like something or whatever. And then I went ahead and called for
security to rack them up.
Yeah, to rack them up. And at that point,
basically to return to their
cells. So obviously then, we went in there. More officers came in on the floor. They came in to start racking them up and stuff like that, because we didn't want to go in there heavy. Mm-hmm. And then once we started closing down the cell doors, the person that was supposed to,
stabbing.
Yeah, he stood at the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at that point,
Yeah,
you
so
made
he stayed
contact.
at the table, and like you could see that other inmates were confused. So like I don't know if they thought he was a snitch or not, but they were like, what is he doing?" Like they were trying to talk to him through the window, and he was just like ignoring them. So
Yeah. So what ended up happening, we ended up having to change the plan. We ended up pulling him out.
yeah,
He didn't want to be there, so we put him in a room, and so then we locked up everybody else, and so now the pod was all secured. We pulled out him. At this time, the guy that we had pulled out for medical that told us all this information, we already had put him in already
yeah,
before the rack up and stuff because
yeah.
he was on a sick call. So nobody had
Nobody knew who it was.
So we pulled up this guy, pulled him out, and then I started talking to him, and he didn't want to talk. And then he started like, look, this is where I got all the information about the gangs. He's like, no, this is the name of the gang that they're starting up. All this information. I was like, okay, perfect. You know? And so then after that, we let the classification know what was going on. And then, but Sergeant moved in and we ended up moving in. It was so serious because of the drugs being on the, in the phones and everything that, meth was there and stuff like that.
Weapons.
Yeah. So we ended up splitting up the whole housing unit. And as soon as they saw all the officers.
So they basically, we got officers together to conduct a search team. And once they started entering that pod, all you heard was flushing.
Everybody was flushing.
Meaning they're flushing all their weapons and drugs down their toilet. So none of the officers find it because that would be another charge for them. They don't want us to find that on their possession. So every cell, flush. Which even though I don't think we found anything, did we?
Yeah, they did. They did. They found drugs. They did find meth. Drugs.
So I'm sure we didn't find it. I'm sure they didn't find everything they had or even the weapons. I don't think they found a weapon. That was the more concerning part is there's no weapon found. But more than likely it was flushed. So at least if we didn't find it, we're happy that they got rid of it. At least it's not in there.
Yeah. So we ended up moving the inmates out, some of them in the jail. I mean, some of them in the gym, and then some of them down in our basement and stuff. Mm-hmm. So at that time, people were trying to figure out who snitched and what was going on and everything. So people started getting scared. Like the inmates started getting scared, wondering and stuff like that. So then it was boom, roll out. Like, I don't know. They had several rollouts.
Yeah, all of a sudden nobody wanted to live in that pod anymore.
Yeah. So people were like assuming that somebody, and even one guy that came out, he was like, yeah, no, he's like, I know that they're thinking it's me and it wasn't me. And I was like, yeah, we understand, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I was like, so what can you tell us?
Stirring the pot.
Yeah. So everybody, and when we pulled out people, we separated the individuals that we know that are head like honchos into separate interview rooms. Yeah. And that was a tactic that, we used because we wanted to make it seem as though we're splitting them up because we know that it wasn't them, but we're going to them and we're like having those conversations like, hey, this is this and that, whatever, interviewing them and, hey, what's going on? Or actually we made them, it was just a tactic to make them think that it was something serious. And it wasn't. I mean, I didn't interview them. I just interviewed.
Yeah. It's just like, if you do that, if you only pick certain people to do that with, it makes it look like they were snitchers. Like they were the ones that snitched. So we're trying to make it seem like, no, we don't know anybody. We're talking to everybody. Like,
and we didn't really conduct interviews with the head honchos. I mean, we're like, hey, how's it going? Small conversations, and then they would ask too, like, hey, what's going on? I was like, I don't know. So I guess something is going on. I guess I don't even remember,
because at the end of the day, they did know what was going on. Mm-hmm. So like, they want to know how much information we know, because then they're gonna see who snitched, who told, because they're the guys running the show. They don't want us to know. But we're pretending like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And they're like, we're just chopping it up. But, yeah, they were playing a game too.
They're like, how long is it going to take or whatever? And each of them, we just had them sitting in the rooms by themselves so that they couldn't communicate with one another, So they were in the loop of like, we don't know what's going on. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, moves got made in order to prevent, this gang from structure, Mm-hmm. We let classification know. And I remember at that point, when I was conducting interviews, one classification came up and he's like, oh, how do they act when they come up?
They just come up. Yeah, where is he? Where's he being held? And we're like, where's who? who's being held? Who's being held where? What?
Like, no, I told them straight up. I was like, no, you don't interview them until I'm done doing my interview. Because at the end of the day, that's my investigation. And I think a sergeant had said too, like, you guys do your investigation and then it goes to classification. Yeah. But too many times where classification is going and conducting an interview and investigation,
they cut in on our time. And it's like, yes, I know classification has more knowledge about things than we do, but like sometimes we have more knowledge than they do as well because we're on these floors every day and have the rapport with the inmates to tell us things that they might not tell them. So that's why we have to wait till our investigation is thoroughly done and then classification can take over. But a lot of these times they like to just come in on our floor and be like, oh, where are they? Where are they? Where are they?
Yeah, like they want to do the interview and investigation, but they gather information and don't bother sharing it with us. Yes. It's like, you're not going to bother sharing that information because why? That's information that I could have probably gotten or whatever. Either way, make that decision and tell me like what I need to know because this inmate's not going to be moved. You need to let me know what's going on. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we can be proactive so that we're aware of some certain issues that are happening that we are probably not aware about, you know?
But that's a new thing. That's like a new concept at the jail, I feel like, is being proactive rather than reactive. I'm pretty sure they're still reactive there.
Oh, of course.
But we tried our best to be proactive because why not catch something before it happens rather than just deal with it once it happens? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. And I understand that. Either way, move is going to have to be made.
Do you want him to get beat up first and then he can get moved?
All right, prove that you need to move.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of how it felt sometimes.
And it was more like the excuse was like, oh, well, what was the excuse? It was more like, oh, well, we don't have the room. You don't understand how hard it is to make these moves. Like, I understand that, but that's what your guys' interpersonal skills come in and be able to remove those, keep separates from individuals.
That's your problem. It's your problem. Your classification, that's your problem. Like, it's not my problem.
No, like, it's not. Whatever's on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, my problem is to keep these people safe. Like, everybody's safe regardless. So that's what I'm doing.
And I mean, at the end of the day, they would be like, well, this person has to go to this one. And it's like, well, they don't want to go. Like, remember that one time where we put on that guy that was a jump? Yeah, that was a perfect story.
We told them.
Yeah, we told him. I was like, well, this guy's saying that he's not a dropout, that he's active. No, he's a dropout. I was like, yeah, but we're letting you know he already made that threat coming in that he's gonna fight. He's gonna go in,
so and when we open that pod door, he's just gonna punch the first person right there.
And what happened? And we were like, nope, no, we're not going to do it. Right. And then Sergeant says, hey, go ahead and do that.
Go ahead and put him in.
Okay, cool. So, all right, we open up the door and what happens?
Boom. Sock the dude on the phone.
Yep. And then and
ran out.
We pulled him because he was starting and all the inmates started like rushing the front door.
Push the door shut.
And the officer, that strong officer, he grabbed him by the jumpsuit, pulled him out, and me and you shut the door. Yeah, me and Steph shut the door real quick because what happens if sometimes these doors don't shut and the airflow, and so it'll like be back and the floor that we were on is notorious for running out. Yep. They are so notorious for running out.
So that was the thing too. Like that one, we had rapport with the inmate. They let us know what was happening. Hey, classification saying I'm a dropout, but I'm not a dropout. Okay, so I'm letting you guys know I'm gonna fight this person. You know, like they didn't have to tell us that. They could have just did it, and they could have, it could have been a big old fight in there. But they tell us because they trust us to do the right thing.
You know what's crazy about it is that same guy that we helped right there. He ended up
fighting an officer.
He ended up assaulting an officer, and I can't.
It was the shift. Remember that's what it was. There was something wrong with him that shift. And remember, I was doing my hot water pass. It was the last hot water pass, and I was standing there talking to him. Remember, for a long time, I was just like, "Oh, it's okay."
Yeah, because he's always talking.
Me and him.
Anxiety and his medication. Remember, he's like one medication.
He was a psych. He was low key psych.
We did call mental health.
Mental health. And so, like, he was saying some stuff, and I was just kind of de-escalating. I'm calming him down. So when I was done talking to him, he was fine. Like, in my opinion, he was fine. Like, he wasn't agitated anymore. He didn't have a problem.
And we did do our due diligence. Hey, just letting you know, like, I know that you guys probably don't have this person on, the case or whatever, but just a heads up, like, if you can make time to see him. And I had a good rapport with the mental health. So mental health would come up and they would, do their thing and help assist them. Well, what ended up happening was
the next shift came on and they did a water pass.
Was it that same day?
It was the same day. It was immediately. Remember, because when it happened,
it was something like, weird. That feeling
because you were talking to him, and I was like, yeah, because I kept having my foot on the back of the door because he was getting he was agitated.
Yeah,
and he was a big guy. He's like Samoan.
Yeah, he was strong.
Yeah, he was a big buff guy. Yeah, big buff guy. But like, so I had the door cracked. Like, it was open, but I had my foot behind it because I kind of had a feeling he was uneasy, so I didn't know what he was doing. It's just how he's staring at me and it was just his vibe. So I was kind of uneasy, but like I was trying to de-escalate him, and he kind of seemed like he calmed down after that. But I don't know what the next shift was saying to him, or he was probably hitting the button saying like, hey, I need to talk to mental health still, And then when they did the water pass, the next shift came on, and that officer that opened that door, boom, rushed him. They were fighting. He tried to rush it. They were fighting on the top tier. And I don't know if that officer got hurt, but that after that inmate became a yellow suitor, which is a high profile inmate, meaning they're dangerous.
And we moved into the dungeon.
Yeah, we moved into the dungeon. But yeah, things like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know there's been many times, I'm sure for Sabina too, that just with me, the way how I talk to them and like, give them the time of day sometimes to vent about something is reasons why I had less incidences than some officers, because they didn't do that for me. Like, I talk to that guy every day. That wasn't the first time. Like when guys are in when inmates are in lockdown, like they don't talk to anybody all day. So when we do the water passes, I think we talked about this in a previous episode. Yeah. We try to give them a little time a day because, it's a mental load, and that just helps us later because their mental, they need to release it. So it helps us later anyways. And it helped me at that time. I don't know, the officer that came by, he probably didn't know him or never talked to him in his life.
But it does make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It makes a difference having that conversation. But again, knowing your boundary, knowing, don't let the lines get blurred. You know what I mean? Like, don't get too comfortable. Exactly. Don't get too complacent.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying as far as like, I was still on guard with him as far as like the door being open, my foot being right there, thinking about, okay, what am I going to do if he like lunges forward? These are all the things that are going through my head while I'm still talking to him all calmly, So some officers don't do that.
Let me tell a story.
They're not observant. Oh my God. Here we go. Okay.
So one time, oh my God. I don't know what this guy was thinking. So he goes in and he's with mental health, right? Mind you, at this time, this inmate...
Different inmate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, new story, different inmate.
Yeah, this is a different one. So this inmate was notorious for assaulting staff, yes. What is it called when you throw pee-pee at them or poo-poo?
Gassing.
Gassing, oh, sorry, there you go.
So he was notorious for gassing officers, pee-pee,
everything.
Boop.
So he went to a mental health hospital, right? Got medicated over there. He assaulted staff with a sharp cup and everything like that.
At that. But
you know what? This inmate he's an idiot, man.
Yeah, he was crazy.
He was
certified crazy.
Yeah. So, we would put him into the dungeon, which is not actually a dungeon. Let's just, it's like high maximum area
security,
for isolation. They're double doors and everything. Yeah,
they're in chains when they come out. Like, it's just because they're very aggressive. They're known to assault staff, so we have to be cautious.
So, mind you, knowing all this, he's been problematic for years.
He's not a yellow suitor.
Yeah. So they're trying to do a step down program, which I applaud them for trying, but you have to take into consideration that although you're on a behavioral plan, I mean, come on now, you shouldn't have put them in that.
It's it should be case by case. It shouldn't just be black and white. You step down like this. No, let's look at their history. How many times have they assaulted officers? It was a lot. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a little bit. It was like 20 plus.
Mm-hmm. So ding dong, man, went over there knowing.
So yeah, he wasn't in lockdown anymore. Now he was free of chains.
Yeah, so he was in like a housing unit, which we're only allowed to open one cell at a time. Yeah. So we're allowed to open up the cell, and only that cell can come out. You can't have that one open and open up another one because that's issues right there, and they'll start fighting for whatever reason. So, mental health was going around doing their checks and making sure the inmates, hey, how's it going? Blah blah blah. Right. Well, for whatever reason.
Because normally with this cell, like when I would open his door, like I'm going to crack it. Like I barely crack it. I put my foot and my whole body in front of the door so he don't come out. Barely crack it. Hey, want some water? No? Okay, boom. Close the door. Little crack. I'm not going to open that door wide. Why? Because notorious for assaulting officers. I'm not going to do that, right? Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah,
this officer apparently didn't get that.
So, my gosh, man, I just want to
This is a known inmate, by the way. Everybody knows.
Briefing. Everybody knows. He knew. This officer knew.
Yeah.
Hey, like, oh my god.
Like it opens the door wide open.
Oh my gosh. So, anyways, so he goes up this door. Obviously, this inmate's like, hey, I'm gonna talk to her. Blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, so, he's well aware of of the mental health worker that's there, right? So
Yes.
so the officer keys the door, and instead of utilizing precautions, right, he literally like he acted like it was his house. Like he went like this, hey, what's up? Like opened the door, like, and had his head right. You know when you open up your front door, like, hello, how's it going, right? Or who's that right there, right? Well, he's opening that door as if the inmate is coming into his house.
I honestly think he let go of the door. Like he let it fly open, I feel like.
I don't know, but he opened up the door and that inmate went.
Socked him right in the jaw, dude. I'm letting you know right now. He called over the radio, right? He got socked in the face, and then he called over the radio for additional officers. I was very good at identifying officers' voices every time someone that so-and-so, right? This guy said fucking additionals to, respond, and I was like, who is
there
that?
Was no accent, huh?
Who is that? And it was like on a floor that I know all the officers that work on that floor, and I was like, who is that? There's no white guys that work up there. Like, there's no white officers up there. Who is that? So, like, I'm running up there to help them too. This was a purely Mexican man that always had an accent when he talked. Always, always, always. That fucking inmate punched his accent out of him. That's what. Obviously,
that's fucked up.
Right when I said that, I texted that officer, "Hey, you got the accent knocked out of you."
I remember too.
I didn't even know that was you.
We were there, and he was like, he was doing escort, and so when I was so pissed because the officer that was trying, like, we're all in shock, right? This old man that needed to retire.
You were there. I think I was on too. I was on
he
too.
Was like shaking the keys, and I'm like, hurry the fuck up. Like, I wanted to boom push him because I already had the key on ready to go, right? Ready to go in dynamic and shit. And it was the slowest time. The keys were jingling so slow, and it's like, hurry the fuck.
So that inmate who didn't have chains was short-lived. Now he has had chains again because he went back to maximum security and
right afterwards.
That.
And even then, I think
lasted like not even a week. I think.
Did he end up throwing the knife? Because he did have a shank on him. He was trying to stab the mental health worker.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was trying to. Yeah, the LMFT. Yeah, he was trying to stab her. Yeah, that's crazy. So.
Yeah, so. That's what I'm saying. Rapport,
and even then,
knowing your inmates.
Exactly.
Knowing your inmates. You know they're aggressive, so why are you acting like they're your homies? They're not. Behind a closed door, yeah, they'll be your homies. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I want to go. Yeah, and then boom, open the door, boom, socks you in your head.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes that's complacency too.
Mm-hmm.
But also too, but be aware. It doesn't matter. You can be cautious. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as over precautions. I've never heard of that.
There.
No. You take all the precautions that you can. Take advantage, because no matter what, if someone's going to assault you, they're going to assault you. You want to lessen the impact. You know what I mean? Like, you can't prevent it from happening per se, but you can lessen the impact. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, the fact that to me, because everything happens, like, but to me, if an inmate is able to make contact with your face, then you weren't really paying attention, because you shouldn't stand that close where they can sock you. Like, you shouldn't. They could throw a punch and it should miss you if you're being aware of your surroundings. But that close to make contact, to me, that's your,
like, you literally put your face right there in the door.
You put your face down
what's
there.
What's going on? I didn't let him live him down.
Yeah, you don't stand that close.
I mean, you know what? Sometimes, I don't know. I don't know. Like, why would you open? I mean, I questioned it. I was like, why would you open the door? Like,
I know. I would just talk to them through the door. Hey, you gonna talk to her? Oh, okay, yeah, you'll be next. Like, whatever. That's it.
And I think the excuse is, well, I couldn't hear him. It's like, it doesn't matter. Turn off the TVs. Mm-hmm. Have them call the box.
So I can write a note. Hey, you're going through the window. You going?
Don't. I mean, either way, you take precautions. Like, yeah, you don't necessarily need another officer to stand by, but it doesn't hurt to ask for him. I've learned, like, I don't need to prove to anybody that I'm tough and that I can fight. You know. Mm-hmm. Just listen to the reports that I have.
Read all the reports.
Yeah, read the reports, and then also to ask about me, because I mean, either way, like, how many times have people like, hey, Aguilar, hey, Fernandez, whatever, like, hey, we heard about what happened, like, what are you talking about, but we play on it too. Like, even though it was a good use of force, we were able to articulate reasonableness. Inmates get word of that, and they know not to present you with a situation that you're going to go hands on. You know what I mean? So
that's why you have to be consistent, because if every time an incident happens and they see you doing something about it, you're responding appropriately, then they're not going to do it on your shift eventually, because they're going to wait to the next shift for that officer that just sits on his ass all day and, oh, they don't do checks. Oh, they don't do this. Hey, you know what? We'll just wait till the next shift.
Yeah. And
not Aguilar and Fernandez's shift, because they're going to be in here.
Yeah, and they don't care what time it is. They don't care what time it is.
They're going to be talking to us. They're going to say, hey, what's that? Hey, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, we spend time in there.
Yeah, we spend time there.
And that's the thing. My old best friend used to say, oh, you having tea and crumpets?
So dumb.
He was so funny. And I did. I would spend. I would have tea and crumpets in there, and I would be watching everything that was going on. Hey, why are you in here? But don't try to. And I would straight up ask him. Yeah, I would straight up.
Making?
Yeah. Hey, what's in that burrito? Hey, give me the recipe. But also too, like at that time too, like they forget, and we were told too, they forget that you're in there.
Yeah, they do. Chill by what's it called? The post. Like I would chill by those. What are they called? Those
pillars?
Yeah, the pillars. I would chill by the pillars and like have my back up against the pillars so no one's behind me, and just would be in there for a while, and they would forget I was in there. They'd start talking about something and be like, and just looking and be like, hey, what? And they'd be like, oh shit.
I used to that's when they would group up in the cell, I go, hey,
that's a good idea.
What are you guys talking about? Then I'd go all the way in and go, hey, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, hey, whoa, nothing. We're just make it real.
Yeah, but officers who are just chilling and
not aware
and not building rapport and not communicating to the inmates, then I guarantee those officers have a harder time at work. I guarantee they have the big fights. Yeah, the riots. They have the smoking on their floors all day. I guarantee it, because those inmates don't take them seriously.
No, they don't. So, I mean, not to say that, like, obviously when you first take over a floor for, like, the new year and stuff like that, when we do rotation, like, obviously you're going to have some hiccups and some issues and stuff, and they're going to be testing you out. But
that's
either
the part
way,
you build the rapport. That's the part you're consistent with them, and they see that, So, yeah.
Well, that's all we have for you. We don't want to give you too many jail stories.
I know, we got a lot, so we got to spread them out through,
the raw time. Yeah.
The season.
Yeah. 'Tis the season. So thank you for listening.
Yes. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And stay tuned.
Peace.